The glass of whiskey trembled in Marcus Hale's hand as his eyes locked onto the impossible sight across the crowded Manhattan restaurant. Time seemed to fracture around him, the ambient noise of clinking silverware and muted conversations fading into a hollow echo. There, bathed in the warm glow of Edison bulbs, sat the woman he'd destroyed 5 years ago. The woman doctors had declared barren. The woman whose broken sobs still haunted his midnight thoughts. But she wasn't alone. Two identical children with dark curls and ocean blue eyes flanked her sides, their small hands reaching up to touch her face as they called out in unison, "Mommy!" The word struck Marcus like a physical blow, stealing the breath from his lungs and sending his carefully constructed world spinning into chaos. If you're loving this story of redemption and shocking revelations, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our emotionally charged narratives. We're on a journey to 10K subscribers, and your support means everything. Drop a comment below telling me what you think Marcus should do next, and don't forget to like this video. Marcus Hale hadn't become a billionaire by dwelling on the past, yet tonight the past had materialized in flesh and blood, shattering his carefully maintained composure. His fingers tightened around the crystal tumbler until his knuckles blanched white, the amber liquid inside sloshing dangerously close to the rim. Beside him, his date, some socialite whose name he'd already forgotten, continued her mindless chatter about the charity gala next week, oblivious to the seismic shift occurring in her companion's universe. The restaurant Le Bernardin had been his choice, a power move in the theater of Manhattan's elite, but now it felt like a trap sprung by fate itself. Olivia Hart laughed at something one of the twins said, her head tilting back in that familiar way that once made Marcus's heart stutter. The years had treated her with unexpected kindness, sculpting away the fragile desperation that had clung to her during their final year of marriage. Her chestnut hair cascaded over bare shoulders, and the simple elegance of her black dress spoke of quiet confidence rather than the desperate attempts to please him that had characterized their dying relationship. But it was her smile, genuine, unguarded, radiating maternal warmth, that twisted the knife deepest into Marcus's chest. The boy twin, wearing a miniature suit that made him look like a tiny CEO, whispered something into Olivia's ear. She nodded solemnly before leaning over to adjust the little girl's pink headband, her movements practiced and natural, every gesture screaming mother. The girl giggled, a sound like wind chimes that carried across the restaurant and pierced straight through Marcus's defenses. These children, maybe 4 or 5 years old, fit perfectly into the life Marcus had told Olivia she could never give him. "Marcus? Marcus, are you even listening?" His date's shrill voice penetrated his trance, irritation sharpening her carefully modulated tones. "Excuse me," Marcus muttered, rising abruptly from his chair with such force it nearly toppled backward. His long strides carried him toward the restrooms, but his trajectory was a calculated angle that would bring him within 20 feet of Olivia's table. He needed to see more, to understand the impossibility unfolding before him. As he passed, close enough to catch the scent of her jasmine perfume, the same one she'd worn on their wedding day, one of the twins looked up. The boy's eyes met Marcus's, and the world tilted on its axis. Those eyes, that specific shade of steel gray, with golden flecks around the iris, were unmistakable. Marcus saw them every morning in his own reflection. The shape of the boy's jaw, the way his eyebrows arched when curious, the slight dimple in his left cheek. These were Hale features, passed down through 4 generations. Marcus's vision tunneled, his breath coming in short, sharp gasps as panic and confusion warred with a desperate, terrifying hope. Olivia's head snapped up, her laughter dying on her lips as she registered his presence. For a fraction of a second, Marcus saw it all flash across her face. Shock, fear, anger, and something that might have been pain. Then her features smoothed into a mask of polite indifference, the kind you'd offer a stranger who'd accidentally caught your eye. She turned her attention back to the twins, deliberately dismissing him as if he were nothing more than a ghost passing through her world. But the little girl had noticed his stare. "Mommy, why is that man looking at us?" Her voice, high and clear, carried in the momentary lull of restaurant conversation. "No reason, sweetheart," Olivia replied, her voice steady despite the tension Marcus could see in her shoulders. Some people just forget their manners sometimes. The words hit like a slap, but Marcus couldn't move, couldn't tear his gaze away from the impossible tableau. The twins returned to their dinner, the boy carefully cutting his sister's chicken into smaller pieces with the focused concentration of a surgeon. That protectiveness, that innate need to care for those smaller and weaker, Marcus recognized it because he'd seen it in his own brother growing up. "Sir, are you all right?" A waiter materialized at his elbow, concern etching lines across his young face. Marcus forced himself to move, to continue toward the restrooms where he locked himself in a private stall and braced his hands against the marble sink. His reflection stared back, wild-eyed and pale, a stranger wearing his face. The impossible had just become possible, and with it came a tidal wave of implications that threatened to drown him. 5 years ago, he'd served Olivia divorce papers on their third wedding anniversary. The doctors had been unanimous. Severe endometriosis combined with blocked fallopian tubes made natural conception virtually impossible. After 2 years of failed fertility treatments, miscarriages that had hollowed out Olivia's eyes, and mounting resentment on his part, Marcus had made a choice. He'd convinced himself he needed an heir, that continuing the Hale dynasty required a woman whose body could fulfill that fundamental requirement. The memory of that night still had the power to make him nauseous. Olivia had prepared his favorite dinner, wearing the emerald dress he'd bought her in Paris. She'd been glowing with hope, clutching fertility clinic brochures for experimental treatments. And Marcus had dropped the divorce papers next to her plate like they were just another business contract. "You're barren," he'd said, the word cruel and clinical. "I married you expecting children, expecting a family. You can't give me that. This marriage is pointless." She'd gone so still, like a deer in headlights before the first tear had tracked down her cheek. "We can adopt. We can try IVF one more time. Marcus, please." "I don't want someone else's children," he'd cut her off, each word a dagger. "I want a Hale heir with Hale blood. You're defective, Olivia. I won't waste any more years on empty hope." Defective. The word had destroyed her, Marcus knew, watching her crumble like a sandcastle before the tide. She'd signed the papers that night, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the pen. He'd given her a generous settlement, $5 million in the Connecticut estate, as if money could compensate for ripping out her heart. She'd taken nothing, leaving with only her clothes and her grandmother's ring. Now staring at his haunted reflection, Marcus understood the magnitude of his mistake. Those twins had his eyes, his features, his blood, which meant either the doctors had been catastrophically wrong or something else had happened after their divorce. The timeline made his head spin. If Olivia had been pregnant when he divorced her, she'd been in the earliest stages, before either of them knew. Or perhaps the stress of the divorce had triggered some medical miracle. But why hadn't she told him? Why had she let him believe she was barren when she'd been carrying his children? The questions multiplied like viruses, each one spawning 10 more, until Marcus's thoughts were a chaotic storm. He splashed cold water on his face, trying to shock his system back into the cool logic that had built his empire. When he emerged from the restroom, his date was gone, probably offended by his abrupt abandonment. Marcus didn't care. His focus narrowed to a single point: Olivia's table. But the universe wasn't done torturing him yet. Her seats were empty, nothing remaining except neatly folded napkins and a paid check. She'd left, vanished like smoke, taking his children, and yes, he was certain now they were his, with her. "Fuck," Marcus breathed, the profanity a prayer and a curse simultaneously. His phone was in his hand before conscious thought directed it, fingers flying across the screen as he pulled up contacts he'd sworn never to use. Richard Moss, the private investigator who'd handled his messier business deals, answered on the second ring. "I need you to find someone," Marcus said without preamble. "Tonight. Right now. Olivia Hart, my ex-wife. She was just at Le Bernardin, and I need to know where she went, where she lives, everything." "This going to be a problem?" Richard's voice was carefully neutral, the tone of a man who'd seen too much to judge. "Just find her," Marcus snapped, hanging up before Richard could probe further. The restaurant's walls felt like they were closing in, the glittering chandelier lights too bright, the air too thick. Marcus strode out into the cool October night, his driver materializing with the Maybach before Marcus had to wait even 30 seconds. But as the car pulled into Manhattan traffic, Marcus couldn't shake the image of those twins, their laughter, their easy affection with Olivia. He'd spent 5 years building Hale Industries into a tech giant worth $12 billion. 5 years of 80-hour work weeks, strategic acquisitions, and ruthless expansion. 5 years of empty penthouse nights and meaningless relationships with women whose names blurred together. He'd told himself he was happy, successful, living the life he'd always planned. But tonight, watching Olivia mother children who might be his, Marcus confronted a truth he'd been running from since the divorce. He'd made the worst mistake of his life, and now he had no idea how to fix it, or even if fixing it was possible. His phone buzzed. Richard, already working miracles. She's staying at the Greenwich Hotel in Tribeca, registered under Hart. Room 412. She's been in New York for 3 days. Flies back to Seattle tomorrow morning. Seattle. She'd moved across the country, built an entire life 3,000 miles away from him. The distance felt intentional, protective, and Marcus couldn't blame her. He destroyed her and then disappeared from her life completely. Of course she'd run as far as possible. What else? Marcus demanded, his mind already racing ahead. Give me an hour for deeper background, Richard replied. But boss, whatever you're planning, maybe sleep on it first. Marcus ended the call. Sleep was impossible now. His entire world had realigned in the space of 10 minutes, and he needed answers with the desperation of a drowning man needing air. The Maybach rolled through downtown Manhattan's glowing canyons, but Marcus saw none of it. His mind was stuck in a loop, replaying the scene at the restaurant, analyzing every detail. The way the boy had looked at his sister with such careful attention, the girl's giggle that had punched through Marcus's chest, Olivia's transformation from the broken woman he divorced into this radiant mother. Had she done it to spite him? Had she known she was pregnant and hidden it deliberately? Or had she been as shocked as anyone when those babies came into existence, despite every medical opinion declaring it impossible? The not knowing was acid in Marcus's veins, corroding his usual confidence. By the time his phone buzzed again with a full dossier from Richard, Marcus was pacing his penthouse like a caged predator. He opened the attached file, and Olivia's new life unfolded before him in stark, documented detail. She'd moved to Seattle 6 months after their divorce, used her settlement money. Wait, no. She'd refused the settlement, so she'd used her own savings to open a boutique children's bookstore in the Fremont neighborhood. Once upon a spine, according to the business registration, the twins, Ethan and Emma Hale, she'd kept his name for them, and that detail hit Marcus like a freight train, were born 4 years and 3 months ago at Swedish Medical Center. Marcus did the math with shaking hands. If they were 4 and 3 months old and it was early October now, they'd been born in late June. Count back 9 months and conception would have occurred in late September, early October. 5 years ago, right before he'd filed for divorce, she'd been pregnant. Olivia had been carrying his children when he'd called her defective and thrown her out of his life. The realization drove Marcus to his knees on the cold marble floor, a sound like a wounded animal tearing from his throat. He'd destroyed the woman he loved, and yes, despite everything, despite the years and the distance and the new women, he'd never stopped loving her, while she carried his children. She'd endured pregnancy alone, given birth alone, raised twins alone for over 4 years. All because Marcus had been too impatient, too focused on his timeline, too cruel to wait for the miracle that was apparently happening inside her body. "Oh God," Marcus whispered into the empty penthouse, the words a confession and a plea. "What have I done?" The Greenwich Hotel's lobby gleamed with understated luxury at 11 p.m., all warm wood tones and soft lighting designed to soothe wealthy guests. Marcus strode through like a man possessed, his Brioni suit rumpled from hours of pacing, his usually immaculate hair disheveled from running anxious fingers through it repeatedly. The night concierge looked up, recognition flickering across his face. Marcus Hale was famous enough that even hotel staff knew him on sight. I need to leave a message for Olivia Hart in room 41, Marcus said, his voice rough with emotion he couldn't quite suppress. The concierge's professional smile faltered slightly. I'm sorry, sir, but our guests have requested privacy. I can't confirm or deny. Marcus slapped $100 bill on the marble counter. Tell her Marcus needs to speak with her. It's urgent. Life or death urgent. The money disappeared with practiced efficiency. I'll send a message up, but if the guest declines, she'll see me. Marcus interrupted with more confidence than he felt. Would she? After everything he'd done, every cruel word he'd spoken, would Olivia even open her door? The concierge made a discreet phone call, his voice too low for Marcus to hear the words. Seconds stretched into agonizing minutes. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs like it was trying to escape his chest cavity. Finally, the concierge hung up and turned back with an expression Marcus couldn't quite read. Ms. Hart says you have 5 minutes. Room 412, 4th floor. Relief and terror tangled in Marcus's gut as he headed for the elevators. Each floor that passed felt like descending into judgment, and he deserved whatever verdict Olivia handed down. The hallway of the 4th floor was deserted, his footsteps muffled by plush carpeting as he approached room 412. He raised his hand to knock, hesitated, then forced himself to rap 3 times on the heavy door. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the door swung open, and Olivia stood there in cotton pajamas and a cardigan, her face bare of makeup, her eyes still luminous and devastatingly familiar. You have some nerve, she said quietly, her voice a blade wrapped in velvet. Coming here, after everything. I saw you, Marcus said, the words tumbling out before he could craft them into something more eloquent. At the restaurant, I saw the children, the twins. Olivia's expression didn't change, but Marcus saw her fingers tighten on the doorframe. So? So? Marcus repeated incredulously. Olivia, those children have my eyes, my features. They're mine, aren't they? Ours. For a long moment she just stared at him, and Marcus saw the calculation happening behind those green eyes. She was deciding how much truth to give him, weighing her words like ammunition. Finally she stepped back, opening the door wider. Come in, she said flatly, but be quiet. They're sleeping. Marcus entered the suite, his gaze immediately finding the adjoining bedroom door that stood slightly ajar. Through the gap, he could see 2 small forms curled under blankets, their dark hair splayed across white pillows. His children. The word felt foreign and natural simultaneously, like learning a language he'd always somehow known. Olivia closed the door with a soft click and leaned against it, her arms crossed over her chest in a gesture that was pure defense. You want the truth? Fine. Yes, they're yours, biologically speaking. Biologically speaking? Marcus echoed, the qualifier cutting through him. What the hell does that mean? It means you provided genetic material 5 years ago, Olivia said, her voice cold and clinical. But you're not their father, Marcus. You gave up that right when you called me defective and threw away our marriage like it was garbage. Each word was a precision strike, and Marcus absorbed them like physical blows. I didn't know. Jesus, Olivia, if I'd known you were pregnant. You didn't give me a chance to know. She cut him off, her composure cracking slightly to reveal the fury beneath. You filed for divorce so fast I barely had time to pack a bag. 2 weeks later, I missed my period. 3 weeks after that, a pregnancy test confirmed what should have been impossible. Marcus's mind reeled, trying to construct the timeline from her perspective. The doctors said, the doctors were wrong, Olivia snapped. Or maybe it was stress, or divine intervention, or just dumb luck. Does it matter? The fact is, I was pregnant with twins, and you were already gone. You'd made it crystal clear you wanted nothing to do with me. If you'd called me, Marcus started, but Olivia's bitter laugh stopped him cold. And say what, Marcus? Hey, remember when you said I was defective and barren? Surprise! I'm pregnant. Do you think I wanted to trap you? Force you back into a marriage where you clearly didn't want me? Her voice rose slightly, and she caught herself glancing toward the bedroom to ensure the twins hadn't stirred. I did want you, Marcus said, the admission raw and unvarnished. I never stopped wanting you. I handled everything wrong. I was wrong. You were cruel, Olivia corrected, her eyes glittering with unshed tears. You took every insecurity, every fear I had about my body and my worth, and you weaponized them. Do you know what it's like to be told you're defective by the person who's supposed to love you unconditionally? Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came. What could he say? She was right. Every accusation was justified. I spent months in therapy just learning how to look at myself in the mirror again. Olivia continued, her voice shaking now. I was pregnant, alone, terrified, and convinced I'd somehow fail at that too, because you'd made me believe I was fundamentally broken. And then my babies were born, and they were perfect, and I realized you were the broken one, not me. The words landed with devastating accuracy, and Marcus felt something inside him shatter. I know. God, Olivia, I know. I've regretted it every day for 5 years. Regret isn't enough, she said, wiping angrily at her eyes. You don't get to waltz back into our lives because you suddenly feel bad about being a monster. I'm not trying to waltz anywhere, Marcus said, taking a careful step closer. But those children are mine. I have rights. Rights? Olivia's voice went dangerously quiet. You want to talk about rights? You have zero rights, Marcus. Their birth certificates don't list a father. I raised them alone. I paid for everything. I was the one there for every fever, every nightmare, every milestone. You weren't. Because you didn't tell me. Marcus's own anger flared now, defensive and desperate. You made that choice for me. You decided I didn't deserve to know I had children. You decided that when you divorced me, Olivia shot back. You made your priorities clear. Your empire, your legacy, your perfect genetic heirs. Well, congratulations, Marcus. You got two of them, but they're not commodities. They're human beings with hearts and feelings, and I will not let you hurt them the way you hurt me. The bedroom door creaked, and both adults froze. Ethan stood in the doorway, rubbing his eyes, his small face creased with confusion. Mommy, why are you yelling? Olivia's entire demeanor transformed instantly, her maternal instincts overriding everything else. She crossed to him in 2 strides, dropping to her knees to gather him close. I'm sorry, sweetheart. We were just having a grown-up discussion. Go back to bed. But Ethan's gray eyes, Marcus's eyes, had found the stranger in the room. Is that the man from the restaurant? Marcus's breath caught. The boy remembered him, had cataloged his presence hours ago with the sharp observation children sometimes possessed. Olivia glanced back at Marcus, a warning in her gaze that clearly said, Say the wrong thing and I will destroy you. Yes, Marcus said softly, lowering himself to crouch so he was at Ethan's level. I'm a friend of your mother's from a long time ago. I didn't mean to wake you up. Ethan studied him with unsettling intensity for a 4-year-old. You made Mommy cry. Friends don't make people cry. The simple wisdom hit Marcus harder than any of Olivia's accusations. You're absolutely right. That was wrong of me, and I'm very sorry. It's okay. Ethan, Olivia interjected, standing and guiding her son back toward the bedroom. Go back to sleep now. Everything's fine. Ethan allowed himself to be tucked back into bed, but his gaze remained fixed on Marcus until Olivia closed the door more firmly. When she turned back, her face was a mask of cold fury. Get out, she said quietly. Olivia, please. Get out, Marcus. I mean it. You've already done enough damage for one night. She moved to the door, opening it and standing aside in a gesture that brooked no argument. Marcus wanted to protest, to demand more time, more answers, but the exhaustion etched into Olivia's features stopped him. She'd already fought this battle once, years ago, when she'd rebuilt herself from the ruins he'd left. He had no right to force her to fight again tonight. When do you fly back to Seattle? He asked, moving toward the door. That's none of your business, Olivia replied. I need to see them again. Marcus stopped, catching himself. Please, let me try to make this right. There is no making this right, Olivia said, her voice breaking on the last word. You can't undo 5 years. You can't erase what you said to me, what you did. This isn't a business deal you can negotiate your way out of. I know that, Marcus said, meeting her eyes directly. But they're my children. However badly I screwed up, however much I don't deserve it, I want to know them. I want to be part of their lives. Why? Olivia demanded, genuine confusion threading through her anger. You made it clear children were only valuable as heirs. Do you want them because you actually care, or because they're Hales and you need to control everything with your name attached? The question cut to the bone, forcing Marcus to confront motivations he hadn't fully examined himself. I don't know, he admitted, the honesty costing him. Maybe it started as ego, but when I saw them tonight, saw the way they looked at you, the way they laughed, I felt something I didn't expect. Something that had nothing to do with dynasties or legacies. What? Olivia asked, her tone skeptical. Longing, Marcus said simply. I looked at the family you built without me, and I realized everything I've been chasing for 5 years is worthless. The money, the success, the empire. None of it means anything compared to what I saw in your eyes when you looked at those kids. Tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks now, but she didn't move to wipe them away. That's a beautiful speech, Marcus. But speeches don't raise children. Consistency does. Patience does. Unconditional love does. Can you offer any of that? I don't know, Marcus repeated, the admission feeling like stepping off a cliff. But I want the chance to try, to prove I'm more than the bastard who broke your heart. Olivia stared at him for a long moment, a battle raging behind her eyes. Finally, she pulled out her phone, typed something, and showed him the screen. A phone number. This is my lawyer's number, she said. If you're serious, you'll contact him. We'll set up supervised visitation, paternity tests, all the legal frameworks. But understand this, Marcus. One hint that you're going to hurt those children emotionally, one sign that you're treating them like possessions instead of people, and I will unleash legal hell on you that will make your worst business battles look like playground disputes. Marcus memorized the number, already pulling out his own phone to enter it. Thank you. Don't thank me, Olivia said tiredly. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because, maybe, despite everything, they deserve to know where they came from. Maybe they deserve the chance to have a father, even if he's imperfect. I'll be better, Marcus promised. I swear, Olivia, Don't make promises you can't keep, she interrupted. Just go now. Please. Marcus nodded and stepped into the hallway. As the door closed behind him, he caught one last glimpse of Olivia's face, and the mix of hope and fear there mirrored the chaos in his own chest. He'd gotten what he came for, acknowledgement, a path forward, but it felt nothing like victory. It felt like standing at the base of Mount Everest, staring up at an impossible climb, knowing the only way forward was up. 3 months passed in a blur of legal paperwork, paternity tests, which confirmed with 99.9% certainty what Marcus's eyes had already told him, and excruciatingly brief supervised visits in a Seattle family center. Marcus made the trip from New York to Seattle every other weekend, clearing his calendar with a ruthlessness that shocked his executive team. For a man who'd once considered 12-hour workdays lazy, this new pattern felt like revolution. The visits themselves were torture of the sweetest kind. Ethan and Emma knew him only as Marcus, a stranger their mother allowed into their world for 2-hour increments under the watchful eye of a court-appointed supervisor named Linda. They were polite, curious, and completely unaware of the biological connection binding them. Olivia had decided not to tell them yet, wanting to see if Marcus could maintain consistency before introducing such a profound truth. Marcus brought gifts initially, expensive toys, designer clothes, the kind of things money could buy easily. Ethan had accepted them with careful courtesy, but showed more excitement about the Hot Wheels car Linda's grandson had given him. Emma had politely set aside the $300 doll in favor of showing Marcus her drawings of unicorns and rainbows. The lesson had been clear. His children weren't impressed by wealth. So Marcus changed tactics. He started showing up with craft supplies, board games, and picture books. He sat on the floor of the family center playroom and let Emma paint his nails sparkly purple. He built elaborate block towers with Ethan, only to laugh when the boy gleefully demolished them. He read stories in silly voices that made both twins collapse into giggles. And slowly, microscopically, they began to warm to him. Emma started saving her best drawings to show him during visits. Ethan began asking when Marcus Day was, marking it on the calendar with a star. The transformation was agonizing in its slowness, but Marcus discovered patience he hadn't known he possessed. Olivia remained distant, appearing only at pickup and drop-off times, her interactions with Marcus curt and professional. She never stayed for the visits, never gave him more than necessary information. Marcus respected the boundaries even as they killed him, understanding he'd burned any bridge to her personal life. But he studied everything he could about her from a distance. He learned her bookstore had won Best Children's Bookshop in Seattle 2 years running. He discovered she volunteered at the twins' preschool, organizing reading time. Through careful questions to Ethan and Emma, never crossing into manipulation, always respectful of Linda's oversight, he pieced together a picture of their daily life. Olivia woke them with pancakes shaped like their favorite animals. She sang songs while braiding Emma's hair. She helped Ethan practice his letters every night before bed. She'd built a life of such warmth and stability that Marcus felt simultaneously proud of her and ashamed of himself. She'd accomplished alone what they'd failed to do together, and the irony wasn't lost on him. 4 months into the arrangement, during a January visit when Seattle's rain drummed against the family center windows, Emma climbed into Marcus's lap unprompted for the first time. She'd been studying a book about ocean creatures, her small face scrunched in concentration. "Marcus, what's a biolumens? Biolumin—" She struggled with the word. "Bioluminescent," Marcus supplied gently, looking at the page depicting glowing jellyfish. "It means creatures that make their own light. Like fireflies, but underwater." "That's so cool," Emma breathed, her weight settling more fully against his chest. "I want to see real ones someday." "Maybe you will," Marcus said, carefully placing his hand on her small shoulder. The trust in her gesture made his throat tight. "Seattle has an aquarium with jellyfish like these." "We go there lots," Emma announced. "Mommy takes us every month because Ethan really likes the octopus. He says they're smart like him." Ethan, building a Lego spaceship nearby, looked up with a grin. "Octopuses have 9 brains. That's way more than people." "8 arms, 9 brains, 3 hearts," Marcus said, remembering a documentary he'd watched years ago. "Pretty impressive." "You know about octopuses?" Ethan asked, interest sparking in his expression. "I know lots of random facts," Marcus admitted. "I used to read a lot when I was your age. Still do, actually. Just different kinds of books." "What kind?" Ethan abandoned his Legos to move closer, curiosity overcoming his usual reserve. "Boring business books, mostly," Marcus said honestly. "But sometimes science books, space exploration, deep-sea creatures, how computers work. I like understanding how things function." "Me too." Ethan's face lit up in a way that punched straight through Marcus's defenses. "I want to be an inventor when I grow up. I'm going to make a robot that helps people." Pride swelled in Marcus's chest, fierce and unexpected. "That's an amazing goal. What kind of help would your robot provide?" As Ethan launched into an elaborate explanation involving robots that could reach things for short people and open jars with tight lids, Marcus caught Linda smiling from her supervisory corner. Later, as she signed off on the visit log, she'd note, "Significant progress in comfort level. Children initiating physical contact and extended conversation." That night, back in his Seattle hotel room, he'd started renting a furnished apartment for his twice-monthly trips. Marcus called his brother Nathan for the first time in months. Nathan, who'd supported the divorce 5 years ago, but had grown increasingly concerned about Marcus's workaholic isolation, answered with his usual sarcasm. "Is this Marcus Hale, or am I being pranked by someone using his voice?" Nathan drawled. "It's me," Marcus said, a smile tugging at his lips despite himself. "And I have news. Sit down if you're not already." By the end of the call, Nathan was speechless, a rare state for the younger Hale brother. "Holy shit," he finally managed. "You're a father to twins, who you didn't know about for 4 years." "Accurate summary," Marcus confirmed. "And Olivia, man, how is she? How are you?" Nathan's voice softened with genuine concern. "She's incredible," Marcus admitted. "She built this whole life for them, gave them everything I would have probably screwed up. And I'm trying. I'm showing up, doing the work, hoping it's enough." "That's growth," Nathan said approvingly. The Marcus I knew 5 years ago wouldn't have had the humility to admit he screwed up, let alone try to fix it. Losing everything teaches you what actually matters, Marcus said. I just wish I'd learned before I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me. So win her back, Nathan said, as if it were simple. It's not about that, Marcus protested. This is about the kids. About being a father. Bullshit, Nathan interrupted. It's about all of it. You love her. You always did. You just got scared and self-destructed. But second chances exist, Marcus. If you want her back, prove you've changed. The words haunted Marcus long after the call ended. Did he want Olivia back? The question felt rhetorical. He'd never stopped wanting her, never stopped regretting the moment he'd let his fear and impatience destroy them. But wanting and deserving were entirely different concepts. The call came at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday night in late February. Marcus was in New York, buried in quarterly reports, when his phone lit up with Olivia's number. The first time she'd called him directly since their confrontation at the hotel. His heart seized. Marcus, her voice was strained, threaded with panic. I need help. I didn't know who else to call. What's wrong? Marcus was already on his feet, adrenaline flooding his system. Are the kids okay? Emma's sick, Olivia said, and he could hear tears in her voice. Really sick, high fever, trouble breathing. We're at Swedish Medical Center, and the doctors are talking about pneumonia. Maybe worse. Ethan's with a neighbor, but I'm alone here, and I'm scared, Marcus. I'm so scared. I'm coming, Marcus said, already pulling up flight information on his laptop. First plane out. 4 hours, maybe 5. I'll be there, Olivia. You don't have to, she started, but her voice broke. Yes, I do, Marcus interrupted firmly. She's my daughter, He caught himself. I'm coming. Text me the room number. I'll be there as soon as humanly possible. He made it in 4 hours and 20 minutes, leveraging the Hale private jet that he rarely used. Dawn was breaking over Seattle when Marcus burst into the pediatric wing of Swedish Medical Center, still wearing yesterday's suit, his hair wild from anxious hands. A nurse directed him to room 317, where he found Olivia curled in a chair beside a bed that held Emma, small and pale against white sheets, oxygen tubes in her nose. Olivia looked up, and the relief that crossed her face was visceral. You came. Of course I came, Marcus said, crossing to her side. How is she? Pneumonia, Olivia said, her voice hollow with exhaustion. Bacterial, which is better than viral, they say. They've got her on IV antibiotics and oxygen. She's sleeping now, but she was struggling to breathe earlier, and I thought. Her voice cracked completely. Without thinking, Marcus pulled Olivia into his arms and she collapsed against him, her body shaking with sobs she'd clearly been holding back. He held her, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring reassurances he wasn't sure were true. She's going to be okay, he said. She's strong. She has your strength. She's 4 years old, Olivia said against his chest. She shouldn't have to be strong. She should be home, drawing her unicorns and demanding third helpings of mac and cheese. And she will be, Marcus promised. This is scary, but she's getting the best care. You got her here in time. You did everything right. They stayed like that for long minutes, Marcus supporting Olivia's weight as she released fear and stress into his shirt. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were red-rimmed but clearer. I'm sorry, she said, wiping at her face. I shouldn't have called. I couldn't do it alone anymore. Ethan's confused and scared. My mom's in Arizona and can't fly back until tomorrow, and You needed someone, Marcus finished. That's not weakness, Olivia. That's being human. And I'm glad you called me. I want to be that person for you, for them. Why? Olivia asked, the question raw. Why do you care so much now when you couldn't 5 years ago? Marcus looked at Emma's sleeping form, her chest rising and falling in a rhythm that was slightly too fast, too labored. Because I was an idiot 5 years ago, he said simply. I thought strength meant not needing anyone. I thought success was measured in stock prices and market share. I was wrong about everything that mattered. And now, Olivia pressed, now I know that this, Marcus gestured to Emma, to Olivia, to the hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and fear. This is what actually matters. Being here when your daughter is sick. Supporting the woman who kept it all together when I failed. Showing up, not because it's convenient or serves my agenda, but because it's what decent humans do for the people they... He stopped. The people they... What? Olivia asked, her green eyes locked on his. The people they love, Marcus finished quietly. I never stopped loving you, Olivia. I was just too damaged and stupid to know how to do it right. Tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks again, but this time they seemed less like grief and more like release. You broke me, Marcus. You shattered me into pieces so small I didn't think I could ever put myself back together. I know, Marcus said, taking her hands. And I will spend the rest of my life regretting that, trying to make amends for it. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But if you'll let me, I want to be here. For Emma, for Ethan, for you. Not as some grand romantic gesture, just as someone who shows up, consistently, unconditionally. Before Olivia could respond, Emma stirred, a small cough rattling her chest. Both adults moved to her bedside instantly, Olivia taking one small hand while Marcus hovered uncertainly. Mommy? Emma's voice was a raspy whisper. I'm here, baby, Olivia said, her voice steady despite her tears. How do you feel? Tired, Emma said. Then her eyes focused on Marcus, confusion flickering across her feverish face. Marcus, why are you here? It's not Marcus Day. I heard you were sick, Marcus said gently, moving closer so Emma could see him without straining. I wanted to make sure you were okay. I feel yucky, Emma admitted, then managed a weak smile. But you came all the way here? That's really nice. Of course I came, Marcus said, his throat tight. When people we care about are hurting, we show up. That's what family does. The word slipped out before he'd consciously chosen it, and Marcus saw Olivia's eyes widen slightly. But Emma just nodded, as if it made perfect sense. Okay, she said, her eyes already drifting closed again. That's good. I like that. As Emma fell back asleep, Olivia looked at Marcus over their daughter's bed. Something had shifted in her expression, a crack appearing in the walls she'd built so carefully. Thank you, she said simply, for coming, for being here. Always, Marcus replied, and meant it with every fiber of his being. Emma recovered slowly over the next week, her fever breaking on day 3, her oxygen levels stabilizing by day 5. Marcus never left Seattle, delegating his business responsibilities to Nathan and his executive team with a finality that shocked everyone who knew him. He split his time between the hospital and Olivia's modest bungalow in the Fremont neighborhood, where Ethan needed reassurance that his sister would be okay. The boy had taken to following Marcus around, asking endless questions about everything from why the sky was blue to how planes stayed in the air. Marcus answered each one with patience that surprised himself, discovering a capacity for tenderness he hadn't known existed. On the 4th night, as Marcus read a bedtime story about dragons and knights, Ethan interrupted. Marcus, are you going to stay? He asked, his gray eyes serious. Stay where, buddy? Marcus asked, though his heart knew what the question meant. Here, with us, like a real dad. Ethan's voice was matter-of-fact, but his small hands twisted the blanket nervously. Marcus's breath caught. Olivia stood in the doorway. When had she arrived? Her expression unreadable. He chose his words carefully, aware this moment mattered more than any business negotiation ever had. I want to, Marcus said honestly. I want to be part of your life, yours and Emma's, more than I've wanted anything. But that's not just my decision. It's your mom's decision too, and yours and Emma's. All I can promise is that I'm going to keep showing up, keep being here, for as long as you'll let me. Ethan considered this, then nodded with the gravity of someone much older. Okay, that seems fair. Mommy says people have to earn trust. Your mommy is very wise, Marcus said, glancing at Olivia. Her eyes were bright with tears. After tucking Ethan in and ensuring he was asleep, Marcus and Olivia migrated to the small living room. The bungalow was nothing like the mansion they'd shared in Connecticut, but it radiated warmth that their sterile showcase home had never achieved. Books overflowed shelves, children's artwork covered the refrigerator, and lived in comfort permeated every corner. "You've built something beautiful here," Marcus said, accepting the cup of tea Olivia handed him. "I built what I needed to survive," Olivia corrected, curling into the corner of her worn couch. "After you, after the divorce, I was so broken. But then I had these two lives depending on me, and I couldn't afford to stay broken. So I put myself back together, piece by piece. This life, this home, it's proof I'm stronger than my worst moment." "You were always strong," Marcus said. "I was just too blind and selfish to see it." "Why now, Marcus?" Olivia asked, the question she'd been circling finally landing. "Why are you different now when you couldn't be then?" Marcus set down his tea, needing both hands to articulate what he'd spent months understanding. 5 years ago, I thought control was strength. I thought if I could manage every variable, predict every outcome, I'd be successful. When you couldn't get pregnant, it felt like failure. My failure to control even my own family planning. So I bailed like a coward. "And now?" Olivia pressed. "Now I know control is an illusion," Marcus said. "The most important things in life, love, family, connection, they're messy and unpredictable. You can't force them into neat business plans. You can only show up with an open heart and hope you're worthy of what you're given. I wasn't worthy of you then. I'm probably not worthy now, but I'm trying to be." Olivia was quiet for a long time, studying him with those penetrating green eyes. "You hurt me more than anyone ever has," she finally said. "You made me feel worthless. Some days I still hear your voice calling me defective, and I have to remind myself it was a lie." "It was a lie," Marcus said urgently, moving closer. "The most damaging lie I've ever told. You were never defective. You were perfect, and I was too damaged to appreciate it." "I'm not perfect," Olivia said with a sad smile. "I'm a single mom doing her best, running a small business that barely breaks even, living paycheck to paycheck most months. I don't have your wealth or your power or your perfect life." "My life is empty without you in it," Marcus said, the truth stark and unvarnished. "The money, the company, the penthouse. It's all just noise. These last few months, seeing you parent our children, watching the life you've built, have been the only real thing in my world for years." "Marcus," Olivia started, but he gently cut her off. "I'm not asking you to take me back," he clarified. "I know I don't deserve that, but I'm asking for a chance, a real chance, to prove I'm not the man who broke your heart, to show up for you and Ethan and Emma every single day, in whatever capacity you'll allow." Olivia looked toward the hallway where their children slept. "They're already getting attached to you. If you disappear again, if you decide this is too hard or not what you wanted—" "I won't," Marcus interrupted. "I swear on everything I have, Olivia, I will not abandon them. Or you. I've made a lot of mistakes, but walking away from this family will never be one of them again." "Pretty word," Olivia said softly, but there was less edge now. "Let me prove it with actions," Marcus pleaded. "I've already started the process to move Hale Industries' headquarters to Seattle. My apartment in New York is on the market. I'm restructuring the entire company so I can be present, actually present, not just for scheduled visits, but for soccer games and school plays and random Tuesday afternoons." Olivia's eyes widened, genuine shock breaking through her careful guard. "You're moving your entire company? Marcus, that's insane. Hale Industries has been headquartered in Manhattan for 40 years. And it was making me miserable for most of them," Marcus said firmly. "The board fought me initially, but when I explained that relocating to Seattle's tech corridor made strategic sense, and that I wasn't asking, I was telling, they fell in line. We've already secured office space in South Lake Union. The move happens in phases over the next 6 months." "6 months," Olivia echoed, the timeline making it real. "You're serious?" "Deadly serious," Marcus confirmed. "I've also started therapy. Twice a week with a psychologist who specializes in attachment issues and childhood trauma. I'm unpacking why I sabotaged the best thing in my life, learning how to actually process emotions instead of burying them under work." Tears were flowing freely down Olivia's face now, but she made no move to wipe them away. "Why are you telling me all this?" "Because I need you to know this isn't temporary," Marcus said, his voice raw with emotion. "This isn't some midlife crisis or guilt-driven gesture. I'm rebuilding my entire life around what actually matters. And what matters is being the father Ethan and Emma deserve, and, if you'll let me, being the partner you deserved 5 years ago, but didn't get. Marcus, I can't just forget, Olivia started. I'm not asking you to forget, Marcus interrupted gently. What I did is unforgivable. I'm asking you to let me earn back your trust, inch by inch, day by day. I'm asking for the chance to show you that people can change, can grow, can become better versions of themselves. Olivia stood abruptly, pacing to the window that overlooked her small backyard. Do you know what the worst part was? She asked, her back to him. It wasn't the divorce. It wasn't even the cruel things you said. It was the loneliness. Being pregnant with twins, terrified and sick and exhausted, with no one to share it with. Going to ultrasounds alone. Coming home from the hospital with 2 newborns and no help. Those first months were hell, Marcus. I'm so sorry, Marcus said, the words utterly inadequate. If I could go back and change it. But you can't, Olivia said, turning to face him. We can't rewrite history. Those years happened. I survived them alone. The question is whether there's any future worth building from here. I think there is, Marcus said carefully. Not because we can erase the past, but because we're both different people now. You've become this incredible mother, this successful business owner, this whole person who doesn't need me. And I've learned that needing people isn't weakness. It's what makes us human. I still love you, Olivia admitted suddenly, the confession tumbling out like she hadn't meant to say it. I hate that I do. I've spent 5 years trying not to. But seeing you with them, seeing how hard you're trying, how much you've changed. Her voice broke completely. Marcus was across the room in 3 strides, pulling her into his arms. This time when she cried, it felt different, like release rather than pain, like hope rather than grief. He held her while she shook, his own tears dampening her hair. I love you too, he whispered against her temple. I never stopped. I just forgot how to show it, how to be vulnerable enough to deserve it. They stood like that for long minutes, 2 broken people finding something like healing in each other's arms. Finally, Olivia pulled back enough to look up at him. This is going to be hard, she said. There's so much baggage, so much hurt. We can't just pick up where we left off. I don't want to pick up where we left off, Marcus said. That relationship was broken. I want to build something new, something healthier, slowly, with professional help and clear communication and all the things we failed at before. I need time, Olivia said. I need to see that this is real, that you're really changing. And we need to think about the twins. They can't get caught in the middle if this falls apart. Whatever you need, Marcus agreed. I'm not going anywhere. Seattle is home now. This family's home now. Olivia searched his face, looking for cracks in his sincerity. Whatever she found there must have satisfied something, because she nodded slowly. Okay, we'll try. But Marcus, if you hurt them, if you hurt us again, I will make sure you never get another chance. I understand, Marcus said, and I promise you, Olivia, I would rather die than hurt any of you again. August sunshine streamed through the windows of Once Upon a Spine bookstore, illuminating dust motes that danced in the air like tiny fairies. Marcus sat cross-legged on the floor in the children's reading corner. Emma nestled against his left side and Ethan against his right as he read from a book about ocean explorers. Both twins were in matching marine biology t-shirts, a recent obsession sparked by that conversation about bioluminescent jellyfish months ago. And that's how they discovered the Mariana Trench, Marcus concluded, closing the book with theatrical flair. Read another one, Emma demanded, already reaching for the stack beside them. Actually, your mom needs help restocking the young adult section, Marcus said, ruffling her curls. And I believe someone promised to help organize the bookmarks? That's me, Ethan jumped up eagerly. I made a system. We're sorting by color and theme. Very efficient, Marcus praised, earning a beaming smile from his son, their son, because he'd officially adopted them 3 weeks ago in a courthouse ceremony where both twins had worn tiny suits and Emma had insisted on a tiara. The memory still made his throat tight. As the kids scattered to their tasks, Olivia emerged from the back office, her hands full of new arrivals. She cut her hair shorter, and there was a lightness in her step that hadn't been there 6 months ago. Marcus rose to help her, their fingers brushing as he took half the stack. "How was the reading?" she asked. "Perfect," Marcus said, meaning it. "Emma wants to be a marine biologist now. Yesterday it was a veterinarian. Tomorrow it'll probably be an astronaut." "She's exploring options," Olivia said with a laugh. "It's healthy." They worked in comfortable silence for a few minutes, shelving books with practiced efficiency. Marcus had been helping at the store every weekend for months now, learning the inventory system and customer preferences. It was his way of entering Olivia's world, respecting what she'd built instead of trying to absorb it into his empire. The bell above the door chimed, and Nathan Hale strolled in with his partner, James, both carrying coffee cups. "There's our favorite family business," Nathan announced. "Uncle Nathan!" The twins appeared from nowhere, tackling him with hugs. Nathan had taken to his uncle role with enthusiastic joy, showing up regularly for weekend adventures and movie nights. "We brought caffeine for the hard-working adults," James said, handing cups to Marcus and Olivia, "and permission to steal these two for ice cream if you need a break." "Ice cream!" Emma shrieked. "After you finish your bookmark sorting," Olivia said firmly, but her smile was indulgent. 20 minutes. The twins raced back to their task with renewed urgency. Nathan sidled up to Marcus, speaking low enough that the kids wouldn't hear. "So, the ring arrives next week?" Marcus felt his pulse quicken. "Tuesday, don't jinx it." "Jinx what?" Olivia asked, appearing beside them with suspicious timing. "Nothing," both men said simultaneously, then looked at each other guiltily. Olivia rolled her eyes. "You two are terrible liars, but I'll pretend I didn't hear anything." As she walked away to help a customer, Nathan elbowed Marcus. "She knows." "Of course she knows," Marcus said. "She knows everything. I'm pretty sure she's psychic." "So you're really doing this?" Nathan asked, his tone turning serious. "The whole thing? Marriage, family, soccer dad life?" "I already am doing it," Marcus corrected. "The marriage part is just making official what's already real. We've been doing couples therapy, family therapy, individual therapy. We've rebuilt trust from the ground up. She's met my entire family. I've integrated into hers. The kids call me dad now." His voice caught on that last part. 3 weeks ago, Ethan had casually said, "Dad, can you help with my homework?" And Marcus had excused himself to the bathroom to cry. Emma had followed suit the next day, and Olivia had squeezed his hand under the dinner table, tears in her own eyes. "I'm happy for you, man," Nathan said sincerely. 5 years ago, I thought you were making the biggest mistake of your life. I'm glad you found your way back." "Me too," Marcus said, watching Olivia laugh with a young mother and her toddler. "Me too." 2 weeks later, Marcus stood on the beach at Golden Gardens Park, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Olivia sat on a blanket beside him, her hand in his, while Ethan and Emma chased seagulls along the waterline. This had become their Sunday routine, beach time as a family, followed by dinner at the seafood place the kids loved. "They're getting so big," Olivia mused, her gaze tracking their children. "I can't believe Emma starts kindergarten next month." "With Ethan insisting he's going to protect her from any bullies," Marcus added with a smile. "That boy has the protective instincts of a Secret Service agent. He gets that from you," Olivia said, glancing at him. "The way you've stepped up for them, for us." "Marcus, I never thought—" Her voice wavered. "Never thought what?" he prompted gently. "Never thought I could feel safe again," she admitted. "After everything, I'd built these walls so high. But you've been so patient, so consistent. You've proved that people really can change." Marcus's heart hammered in his chest. This was the moment. He'd planned this for weeks, coordinating with Nathan and James to make sure the timing was perfect. He stood, pulling Olivia to her feet. "What?" she started, but he was already calling to the twins. "Ethan, Emma, come here for a minute." The kids ran over, windswept and sandy, matching grins on their faces. Marcus dropped to one knee in the sand, and Olivia's hand flew to her mouth. "Mommy, why is Dad kneeling?" Emma asked, confused. "Because," Marcus said, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket, "I want to ask your mommy something very important. And I wanted you two here because this isn't just about her and me. It's about all of us. Ethan's eyes went wide. Are you going to ask her to marry you? Like in the movies? Exactly like in the movies, Marcus confirmed, opening the box to reveal a platinum band with a single, perfect diamond. He'd chosen simplicity over flash, knowing Olivia's taste had always leaned toward understated elegance. Turning his attention to Olivia, whose tears were already streaming, Marcus took a shaky breath. Olivia Hart, 5 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life when I let you go. I was broken and scared and too stupid to see that you were the best thing that ever happened to me. You've given me a second chance I didn't deserve, shown me what real strength looks like, and raised two incredible human beings who I'm honored to call my children. Dad's crying, Emma whispered loudly to Ethan. Shh, Ethan whispered back. This is the important part. Marcus smiled through his tears. I know I can't erase the past. I know I hurt you in ways that left scars. But I love you. I love all of you, with everything I am. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that I'm the man you and our children deserve? For a moment that felt like eternity, Olivia just stared at him, tears streaming down her face. Then she laughed, the sound half sob, half joy. Yes, she said, dropping to her knees in front of him. Yes, Marcus. Yes to everything. Marcus slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, and then they were kissing while the twins cheered and jumped around them. Emma hugged them both from one side, Ethan from the other, and they collapsed into a pile in the sand, laughing and crying simultaneously. We're going to be a real family, Emma squealed. We already were, sweetheart, Olivia said, pulling her daughter close. But now it's official. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting their little family in golden light, Marcus felt a peace he'd never known settle into his bones. He'd been given something precious and rare, a genuine second chance, and he would spend every day of the rest of his life honoring it. The backyard of their new Fremont home buzzed with activity as friends and family gathered for the twins' 7th birthday party. Marcus stood at the grill, flipping burgers with practiced ease while Nathan regaled him with a story about Hale Industries' latest acquisition. But Marcus's attention kept drifting to the scene before him. Olivia, 8 months pregnant with their third child, sat in a comfortable chair overseeing the chaos with serene authority. Emma was leading a group of kids in some elaborate game involving dinosaurs and astronauts. Ethan was showing his friends the robot he'd built from a kit Marcus had helped him assemble. You're not listening to a word I'm saying, Nathan accused good-naturedly. Sorry, Marcus said, not sorry at all. Just taking it all in. It's a good life you've built, Nathan observed, better than the one you had before. It's everything, Marcus corrected. The company, the money, the success. None of that meant anything. This is everything. Olivia caught his eye across the yard and smiled, one hand resting on her swollen belly. In 2 weeks, they'd meet their son, Michael Nathan Hale, named after Marcus's grandfather and his brother. The pregnancy had been carefully monitored given Olivia's history, but everything had progressed smoothly. Dad! Dad! Emma ran up, tugging his sleeve. Can we do cake now? Please? Let me check with the boss, Marcus said, gesturing to Olivia. Emma giggled and ran to her mother instead. Marcus watched Olivia cup their daughter's face, saying something that made Emma nod seriously before racing back to her friends. These small moments, the mundane, everyday interactions of family life, were the treasures Marcus had almost lost forever. As they gathered around to sing happy birthday, Marcus stood behind Olivia's chair, his hands on her shoulders, their kids beaming at them through 7 blazing candles. Ethan and Emma closed their eyes to make wishes, and Marcus made his own silent prayer of gratitude. He'd frozen in that restaurant 2 years ago, confronted with the impossible sight of the family he'd destroyed. But that frozen moment had thawed into something beautiful. He'd faced his worst mistakes, done the hard work of changing, and been given a grace he'd never expected. The twins blew out their candles together, and everyone cheered. Olivia reached back to squeeze Marcus's hand, her touch a reminder that redemption was real, that broken people could heal, that love, when given the chance, could survive even the deepest wounds. As the party continued around them, Marcus leaned down to whisper in his wife's ear. Thank you. For what? Olivia asked, tilting her head back to look at him. For letting me back in, Marcus said simply. For believing I could be better. For giving me the family I didn't know I needed. Olivia turned in her chair as much as her pregnant belly allowed, pulling him down for a kiss. Thank you for becoming the man you were always capable of being. And in that moment, surrounded by laughter and love, and the beautiful chaos of the life they'd rebuilt together, Marcus Hale finally understood what it meant to be truly wealthy. If you love this emotional journey of redemption and second chances, smash that like button and subscribe to join our community. We're so close to 10K subscribers, and your support makes these stories possible. Drop a comment below telling me your thoughts on Marcus and Olivia's story. Do you believe people can truly change? What would you have done in Olivia's position? Let's discuss in the comments. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss our next incredible narrative. Thank you for being part of this journey.